Emmanuel, and in just 3 weeks, he found the deal of a lifetime, negotiated an offer, got it accepted, found the EMD from a third party, me, and then found the buyer to sell it. Now, how did he do all of that? He's a member of the Flip Flop Flipper Apex community. And inside of Apex, he was able to find the buyer who's an operator. He was able to find someone who wanted to put up the money, and he's got the deal of a lifetime done and is going to make $40,000 on his very first deal. So if that sounds good to you, and you want to be like Emmanuel, comment Apex and I'll send you the link.
Welcome to the Monday Night Power Hour with Robert and Jennifer. Jennifer was our sponsor for the 3-day event, our Freedom Flippers Live, which was pretty awesome. And yeah, before we start with Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me here again. I'm excited.
Yes, and Jennifer's with Finish Line TC Services. Used her in the past, we'll use her in the future, and you should too. And now I'm gonna take a nap here while you guys talk.
I thought you took a nap before.
It wasn't enough.
You guys, so Jennifer was a big part of our 3-day intensive. It was hopefully we delivered on everything that we offered. We were trying to let people come and get a blueprint for becoming a real estate investor, which is complete with like Finish Line TC services so that you don't have to do it alone. And that was one of the big messages of the 3 days, was that this real estate investing is a team sport. And I truly live that. Like, this is not something that you want to do alone. I've done it alone. I've done it with partnerships, and doing it with partnerships is better. Involving someone like Jennifer to come in and handle the closing portion of your deals enables you as the real estate investor to go out and work on finding more deals. Your time is better spent in most cases going out and finding the next deal of a lifetime and handing something off to Jennifer so you can start to build a business, rather than, a lot of times I think people watch us and they just were thinking, how do I get my first deal done? That's really never our intention. Our intention is for people to completely step outside of what we think are broken systems, where you go to school, get a job, pay taxes, and try and save money until you die. That's a broken system. And we believe we've found a better way. We believe real estate investing leads to the good life, leads to financial freedom. And we really, really believe it's a team sport. So Jennifer, thanks for coming back. Thanks for coming into the event, being a part of that. And then thanks for being here.
Awesome. Yeah. And Robbie, you touched on a very important point, that you can't do this all on your own. Like, sometimes we have this mindset that there's one component of real estate, right? Like investor, agent, seller, and buyer, right? Like there's a lot more that goes into it. And having a team that's going to support you is extremely important, especially if you're looking to do this like full time, right? You were talking about in the 3-day event about financial freedom. And so how do you get to that, right? How do you get to that if you're doing this on your own, if you're trying to figure all parts of this real estate game by yourself, right?
You don't. And if you don't want to, oh, we lost Robert.
Yeah.
See, this is what happened. Robert? We lost Robert. You give him a computer, he breaks the internet, and not in a good way.
We can't see
here. I just been playing with the settings, but I'm here.
Good job. Now we can't see you.
See if I can click it back. Is that better?
Nope. Oh my God. You're doing just fine.
How about now?
Nope.
Come on.
So this portion of Monday Night Live.
Look at it's all you got to do. You just got to take the good looks away, and everybody begs you. They want you to come back.
Look at that. So yes, I agree. If you're not partnering with people, you're not growing fast enough. It's just the lay of the land. I've done more deals because I'm able to source money and work talent and stuff like that by partnering with people like Robert and Dave. You know, I'm more confident to do more just because I have them. I partner with them on my deals. because they bring the experience, they bring the knowledge, and if even if there's a gap of something of information or anything I need, they're there. So it really does make your business much better if you have that model in mind of partnering with the right people and delegating the tasks that you don't want to do, like following up with lawyers. So
Yeah, and if you do everything yourself, maybe you can do a couple of deals, but you quickly hit your limit, and then your business stops growing, and you really just create a job for yourself. Where if you can partner with other people who've got different skill sets, and you start to be able to rely on someone to do a portion of the business, and you do a portion of the business, it takes you a lot longer to hit your limit. So the bigger the team you have, and then the more deals that you can get. So the question is, do you want to have 100% of a small pie, or do you want to have a piece of a big pie? I've always been a high volume guy, but I like having a piece of as many deals as I possibly can, because that's the best way that I know of to be sure that I'm going to get to be a part of what we call the deal of a lifetime, right? You're going to do some deals that make some money. Hopefully you don't do any deals that ever lose any money, but you want to do a whole bunch of deals because you never know which one's going to just like be a grand slam and hit it out of the park. So, and then bringing on someone like Jennifer at Finish Line completely gives you the ability to go out and spend your time to continue looking for deals.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Go ahead, Adam.
you told us your story in a long format interview that we have on YouTube if anybody wants to go watch it. But what maybe the question didn't get asked, but what's the plan for TC Services? Are you planning on staying, in Puerto Rico in the 50 states, or is this a service you can go international with? How big are you going to take it?
Yeah, so we're already international in Puerto Rico as well. The reason for that, it gives us the flexibility as a transaction coordinator to service as many different people, right? Not all TCs are like that. I will say there are some certain TCs that like to just focus on one state, but I really enjoy, working nationwide. I'm also someone that likes to get into the complexity of things. So working in different states and knowing like the do's and the don'ts of certain states, even though I'm not an attorney, right? I'm always going to check with the title company. I'm always going to double check with an attorney. But it allows me to be creative, right? To think outside the box, to problem solve. So transaction coordinating is something that is going to be here for a very long time. I've also launched an academy to teach other people on how to do it as well. One of the things that I've noticed is that I love educating. That's what I do with my investors. I love to teach them and help them grow, right? Because when you're a new investor, a lot of the times you don't know what you don't know, right? Unless you are part of a community, right? And you have a support system. Some do and some don't. And so I get a mix of both. And when I get involved with an investor that's new, I really like to sit down and talk to them before they get into a deal, right? Before they go and sending crazy offers that may not necessarily make sense.
I love that. Go ahead, Adon.
No, go for it.
No, I think that what you said is amazing. Thinking about this from the perspective of someone who's new, everything that you teach them is that one thing that can really propel their business. So you might do a deal with a new person and they learn 50 things in the transaction, which is freaking amazing. And then you might find an old dog like me and you teach me one thing that saves me a little bit of time and I'm all over it. That's the beauty of it, guys, is once you get into the business, you're always learning and you're always looking to improve and be able to do more. So Jennifer, if I might ask, what's one or two deals that you've recently closed that have kind of an interesting story? Because I think every week, Adon and I, we get up here and we talk about the interesting things that we're doing. It's nice to have a new face, a pretty face that can tell us something that's interesting that you've been up to.
Yeah, definitely. So a deal that I recently closed on was a foreclosure. Foreclosures, a lot of the times they come with like unexpected things that come up, right? Because chances are, if they're behind on their mortgage, they may be behind on other things, right?
Yeah.
But aside from that, one of the things that, and I see this a lot, right? An investor will have something under contract and they'll tell me, hey, it's they're in foreclosure. I'm like, great. Do we have a reinstatement? And they're like, no.
What's
They
that?
don't. And I'm trying to close in a week. And so it doesn't work that way, right? Reinstatements are extremely important to have before you close, because you have those unexpected fees, you have the legal fees, you have marshal fees, and those things add up substantially. And so when I get an investor that is like up against the timeline of needing to close quick because they have an auction, now I have to treat this deal completely different, right? Now we have to think about, well, how are we going to postpone this? Because we're not going to get title search in time, right? And the last thing that I want is for an investor to jump into a deal where we haven't had the title search back. The title search is going to tell us a whole bunch of things. Are there any other liens? Do they have credit card debt? Maybe they did a rehab on their kitchen and they stopped paying. Now they have a mechanics lien on there. So all of those things I need to know before an investor goes and spends 30, 40,000 to get it out of foreclosure or to stop the auction. I mean, there's so many other ways that we can postpone it. But what I want investors to know is that the reinstatement has an expiration date on there. It's only good until a certain amount of time. So let me give you an example. I don't know why banks do this, but sometimes they'll give a reinstatement and it'll only be valid for a few days. But then closing is not until next week. So now guess what? We have to go back, get a new reinstatement. And Robbie, I'm sure you've dealt with this, and maybe Adon as well, where you reach out to the bank and you try to get a new reinstatement, and guess what? It doesn't happen that quickly.
Yep. And there can be a foreclosure date set and you're under the gun.
Exactly. And there's companies out there where, when I say companies, I'm talking about the trustee, right? It's important to know who the trustee is, which is the attorney that's collecting the debt, right? I sometimes I get investors that'll say, well, I have a mortgage statement. Here, it says how much is owed. Well, guys, that is not enough.
So
you will be in for a surprise.
That's not a reinstatement figure because it doesn't include the attorney's fees that they've racked up. It doesn't include all of the late fees, the forced insurance, all of the things that happen when you stop paying your bills. And this is a lesson that I recently learned on a sub-2 deal in foreclosure, that we went pretty quick and stopped the foreclosure. So we did get the reinstatement figure, but what we failed to do was to reinstate the insurance. So I got a deal where I expected to have $1,200 a month being paid to the bank. And after they forced insurance on me, the payment went to $2,900 a month and killed all of my profit, right? So I had about $1,000 of buffer. And then now I went from having about $1,000 of buffer to being upside down about $1,000 a month. Unfortunately, and this is the only time I can ever remember doing this, I was in a position where I was able to pay off the loan. So I just paid them off, and it was still a good deal. It was still an excellent deal. But had that been a tight deal, oftentimes sub-2 deals are good because you're taking over the mortgage that exists, and there's not a lot of equity. So paying them off isn't a good idea. You want to keep the bank in the picture. But that was a lesson that we learned. We didn't have a transaction coordinator. We did use a title company, but they failed to figure that out too. It was an expensive lesson. I mean, luckily we're okay, but that was an expensive lesson, and we couldn't afford to keep the bank in at $2,900 a month. Even after we reinstated or got new insurance, they were going to go a whole other year and escrow all of that money. I was like, no, hell no. So I paid them off.
Well, guess what? I would have saved you a ton of money. You would not have to have done that. All you need to do is get a new policy. And oftentimes the new policy is going to be cheaper than the forced insurance, because the forced insurance is always expensive.
The worst.
Once you get the new policy, You send that to the lender. They'll review and approve it for a sub 2. It needs to be set up correctly. It is different than just a cash deal. Once they accept and approve it, then you cancel the old one, and that's it. Now your new one is in place, and now your payment is going to decrease. I've helped a lot of clients do that before, and it saves them hundreds of dollars on their monthly payment, and they don't have to refi.
Awesome. Well, I wish we had been using you on this deal. This was a deal in Florida, and I let my partner on the ground, who I do a lot of deals with, who's a real estate professional investor for 20 years. And we still, and guys, I've done thousands of deals. TJ's probably done roughly 1,000 deals, and together we've done more than 100 deals together. He missed it. I missed it. It was expensive. And that was a lesson. That was a lesson we learned. We're luckily, TJ negotiated a hell of a deal, and we've got a couple $100,000 in equity, and all of that is still good. But we thought we were going to just keep it as a rental, and now we're going to, because I've got the cash out on it, we're going to instead let this renter get out at the end of the year, and then we're going to sell it, where we would have kept it had we had the sub 2. Do you want to explain sub 2 a little bit with what maybe people are listening to us don't understand what that means, buying a property subject to, and the difference between like assuming someone's mortgage with the bank versus just buying it subject to the existing mortgage? And I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before that, Jennifer, real quick, I just want to tell a little quick story. When I first met Jennifer, she was explaining her services. And I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I went up to her and said, so this means you can do the negotiation for me, so I don't have to talk and explain sub 2 to anybody? She's like, no, you need to do the deal, and then you bring it to me. And I'm like, oh, man.
Bummer.
I thought I just figured it all out.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you said that too, because that's an important point, and I'll get to that as well. But as far as subject to, so subject to or subject to the existing loan means when the buyer is taking over a seller's existing mortgage. People always ask, how do you do that? And do I act as the buyer? Do I actually own the property? The answer is yes. You still own the property. You get the deed to the property. Oftentimes, there's other ways, but you get the deed to the property, and the debt stays in the seller's name. Okay. Now, you may hear people, attorneys do this as well, and oftentimes when they use this word, they are confused. They're confusing it with something else. Title companies do it as well. When they say, oh, so you're assuming the loan. No, you're not assuming the loan, because if you're going to assume the loan, you actually have to qualify for the loan. You have to reach out to the bank. They have to do paperwork and all of those things. And oftentimes, the whole reason why people do subject to is to keep the low interest rate, to not assume it. They don't want to put anything on their credit. Maybe they don't have great credit, or maybe they just want to have a whole bunch of properties and not like be over leveraged. So subject to is taking over a seller's existing mortgage. Everything stays the same. Monthly payment, interest rate, and the name on the loan. The only thing that changes is the deed to the property. Now, is this legal? Yes, it is. If you look at a HUD or a settlement statement, there is a line item that says on there, subject to existing loan. So if anybody tells you, oh, well, that's not legal, attorneys try to say this as well because they don't know. Some of them aren't, they're not very familiar with creative finance. Just point it out. Say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Can you tell me why on this HUD or settlement statement it says subject to the existing loan? Because this document is from the Housing of Urban Development. Okay, this is like a legit form. And I guarantee you they will have nothing to say because they're going to be like, I don't know, right? So that just means that you're not working with the correct attorney. And we have all those connections of the people that you should be working with on those deals. You can't just take those deals to anyone, any title company, any attorney, or any TC. It has to be somebody that's specialized in creative finance. Now, to Adon's point, when he asked me, oh, so I could just bring my deal to you, you'll negotiate it. The answer is no, we do not participate in negotiations. I do, however, offer, if a seller has further questions on the process or what to expect or clarity, I can certainly hop on a call with the seller, right? However, as the investor, you should have already had that conversation, right? Of what to expect, what it is that you're trying to do. You guys have already figured out your numbers. At that point, then I will have the conversation with the seller.
Nice. I think you said a lot there that's very impactful. Something that I would like to say in addition to what you said, as real estate investors, and I'm assuming anybody who's watching the Flip Flop Flipper on Monday Night Live Power Hour, you guys are all either real estate investors or want to be real estate investors. Under no circumstances do you as a real estate investor ever want to use a closing agent of any kind anywhere that doesn't understand who you are and what it means to be a real estate investor. Your closings are completely different than Joe homeowner who goes and gets a loan from the bank. It's night and day. And so the whole world thinks that buying a piece of real estate is one buyer, one seller, and a bank, or maybe cash. But real estate investors can have multiple buyers, a daisy chain of assignments. You could be buying things in land trusts. You could be paying cash. You could be doing hard money. You could have several different partnerships and joint ventures. I mean, there's all kinds of kind of craziness that your typical closing agent or lawyer even won't have a clue about. So it's super important that you interview or you work with a TC, a service like Jennifer's got, and they're already working with the right people. If you don't, it's headaches, right? It doesn't mean that it's impossible, but it means that you're going to be educating the shit out of someone who should know what they're doing, and it's frustrating. So just keep that in mind. I thought that was pretty good. What else?
One more thing that I want to add too, because sometimes, like with, let's say, cash transactions, people are like, oh, they're straightforward. You know, I know what to do. It's all the same. Every deal can be different, right? You may get into a situation, it's a cash deal, run the title search. Oh, it's a probate problem. Oh, there's liens against the property that haven't been released. Now what do you do? Like, there's so many unexpected things that can come, like that can pop up throughout the transaction. And so, like, do you really want to stop everything that you're doing to have to deal with that? Because you think that, oh, the last one was smooth, this one should be too. It doesn't always happen that way.
That's so true, Jennifer. So Adon and I are trying to have a closing tomorrow. And for one of the very few times in our history, Adon, maybe this is your first time, we're actually involving a hard money lender. And so we were going through setting up loan docs, and they're lending us money through a self-directed IRA. And it's just a little bit different. This is a very experienced real estate investor lender, but it's his first time ever doing anything in Puerto Rico. And we've been jumping through the hoops for both sides since like Friday. And we got everything done today. Wires get initiated. And then guess what tomorrow is? We're scheduled to close tomorrow, but tomorrow's a holiday. And so we're not scheduled to close for tomorrow anymore. And that shocks people too. It's like, oh, literally, Dave texted me. He says, Robbie, am I on candid camera? We've been jumping through hoops for 3 days to get to be able to close tomorrow, and tomorrow's a holiday.
Yeah, IRAs are like that. I've yet to have a smooth experience with an IRA. It's always like, we need this, and like we have to review things, and it is pretty time consuming with IRAs. Yeah,
because it's very different than just somebody wiring in money from their bank account. They have to go through a process to be able to get the funds released. They've got a custodian who dots all the I's and crosses all the T's, and then they wire the money. So yeah, we'll get through it, but just that is the way things go for real estate investors. You're always doing something a little bit different, and it can be fun.
So, Jennifer, I mean, we're talking about when we bring deals to you. What about if we're selling our deals to a buyer? You know, what does that look like on our side? And do
Yeah,
we need to use your service for that side of things?
yeah, so very similar process. So once you have your buyer in place, you would just send me over the contract. I always ask for some sort of introduction to the other party, whether that's the buyer or the seller. It makes it a lot smoother than me just reaching out blinding them like, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. I need these things from you. So just a very simple introduction. Hey, this is Jennifer. She's our transaction coordinator. She'll be assisting assisting throughout the process from here, and that's it. And so I would take it from there directly again with the title company, with the buyer or the seller for whatever additional documents I need for the transaction. So very similar to if I was representing the buyer side.
Okay. All right. Well, I definitely want to use you more in the future because I don't want to deal with selling things.
And I think we're about to ramp up a little bit. So we just finished some really big projects, and for the last 2 years we've been going pretty slow. So us going slow, we still do more deals than most people, but we just finished up 2 pretty big projects that were millions of dollars, and definitely once either one of them sells, we're ready to go fast. But I think we're ready to start to go fast now through the end of the year and buy some things and be ready to really rock and roll next year. So we could use the extra help too. Adon, I'm seeing that there's some lively chat going on in the chat, but I can see it on my phone and it looks rude, I think, if I try and read the stuff. Do you want to look through and see if there's a good question we could answer?
Yes, I will take care of this. Do not touch the computer.
Thank you.
Here we go.
And while Adon's looking for a great question for us to answer,
here's the first.
How many of you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel? I would love to have you do that. We're growing like crazy on this YouTube channel right now. We're picking up 1,000 new subscribers, it seems like every week. But still, about 75% of the people who regularly watch us don't subscribe. So we would love for you to hit that subscribe button and help us to grow even faster. So that would be great. Also hit that little thumbs up button.
First question, what's the cost of the TC services?
A great question. So the cost of TC services is going to depend on a few factors. Where the deal is located, so what state. Every state is going to be different. Some states are a little bit more complex than others, so we have to price it according to the state. The deal type. Every deal is going to be different, right? A cash transaction will be priced differently than a creative transaction or a private money lending deal from another deal. So it's all going to be different. And then when it's closing, for anything that's closing in less than 2 weeks, obviously we have to price that accordingly as well because we make your deal a priority over other transactions that are closing 30 days out, 30, 45 days out. So it's going to depend. I can't give an exact number. I'd like to get on a consultation with clients and find out what deal they're working on and see the complexity of it and see what it all entails to price accordingly. I will say, because I did see it on here, it is not percentage based. It is a flat rate based on the deal type. So I can assure you it's going to be much, much less than like what an agent charges, right? Much, much less. And we come with a lot of various experiences based on different deal types.
Yeah, I put her website here, guys. If you want to go check it out. Hold on. Hit the bell, guys. Like the video. Sorry, I am delayed. I need coffee. I'm dealing with a one month-year-old, and I want to go back to sleep. And Robert made me do this. Here's a question, Chris. Do any rentals exist in PR for $1,500 a month or less for 4-bedroom, 3-bath? Yes, they do.
You had one for a while, Adon, recently, right? Before you moved into the penthouse. Was that 1,500 or less, or was that slightly more?
No.
The house you were in?
It's like 21.
A 4-bedroom, 3-bath is a pretty big house, and
Yeah.
so that's
can find them.
probably a fairly low price point, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. They definitely do exist.
Yeah. Luce asks, so finding out the story on the house being purchased is what you do. Is this done in PR too? I thought it was just investigating at the cream and getting a lawyer. Sorry, I'm very new to this.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I think that's a TC question. So no, it's not just crim. Crim is part of it, right? But it's a lot more, right? For some reason in Puerto Rico, like the deals that I've gotten, it tends to be one of those where there's multiple heirs. It's a common thing. Getting power of attorneys and things like that. Yes, the attorneys will draft those things up. The problem here in Puerto Rico is that there's a lot of slow communication. You may not hear back from an attorney. It may take longer. So I'm also facilitating in the process and the communication of everything. I have a really good relationship with some attorneys here in Puerto Rico to help speed up the process as well.
Nice.
Yep. Anytime you can speed up the process in Puerto Rico, you're a hero.
Absolutely.
Slow communication is slower than mail. It's amazing. What exactly does your service do, Jennifer? Basic overview of the service. Okay.
So basic overview is I'm the main hub of the transaction. So it'll be from contract to close. I'm facilitating all the communication. I'm assisting with any missing documentation or addendums. I'm sourcing out the title company or the attorney that you'll want to be doing your transaction with. So I'm pretty much, it's like an administrative assistant within real estate, with a lot more consultation involved, usually depending on the complexity of the deal.
Nice.
How often in your business do you become the counselor for your buyers or sellers?
Yeah, I would say at least like 40%, because sometimes I had this deal where I think he was a new investor. He said he was experienced, but something came up on the title search. And I was actually on the wholesaler side. And the buyer automatically was like, that's it. This is a scam. This is literally what he said. Something came up on the title search. He freaked out. He's like, this is a scam. I don't know who you are and what you're doing with this transaction. And I was like, whoa. Let's get on a phone call. So I gave him a call and I said, hey, this is real estate. Sometimes you don't know what may come up on a title search, right? And we can only go based off of what sellers tell us, right? They may say, no, there's nothing against my property. And then you find out that there are surprises. It doesn't mean it's a scam. But I had to talk that guy off of the ledge quite a few times, because everything, it was just like freaking out. But yeah.
And if you don't do that, then the wholesaler loses his buyer and the whole deal blows up. The seller loses a sale. The wholesaler loses a wholesale fee. The buyer doesn't get to buy a deal that's otherwise a good deal. And these title issues can be fixed, but people get freaked out, and especially when things don't go smoothly. So it's nice to have someone in between you. So if I'm that wholesaler, I'm thinking, holy shit, she just earned her check. That was amazing. Maybe you don't even let your wholesaler know that it happened, but it is something where you saved that deal.
Now, I will add that even though I'm involved in the transaction, there are some times where we're still jumping through hoops. Like it's just not smooth. Things came up. I'm dealing with this. I'm putting out fires. The thing is that I'm the one that's dealing with it, not the investor. But sometimes there are things that are out of our control. The other thing that I would say too is that because I've worked with so many investors and buyers and things like that, I'm able to tell if this is a flaky buyer, especially when if I'm on the wholesaler side. Based on their behavior, based on things that they're saying, I may be like, hey, Adon, this person may seem a little iffy. They seem they're going to flake out. Just letting you know, just a heads up in case this does happen. because I'm able to spot a lot of the yellow flags. I won't say red flags, the yellow flags.
All right. Chris says, I'm moving to PR on December 1st. We'll like something lined up before you get there. That's a good idea, Chris. You should definitely do that. What part of the island? He said the east side. I would link up with a realtor, Chris, or someone in the community to see what's available. I know Robert Emmanuel just closed a deal in Fajardo with a new investor, and she's looking to put people in her property, so she might have something for you.
She's got a 3-1, not a 4-3, and she might have 2 3-1s or a 3-1 and a 2-1 or something like that in the same building. It's a beautiful building in Fajardo, so that's the east side of the island.
And R asks if you're based in Puerto Rico.
Yes, I am. I just moved here 6 months ago. I was in Connecticut for many, many years, and then I moved over to the sunny side.
Nice, especially now with everything that's going on.
I bet you're enjoying that this time of year because it's already cold in Connecticut. I don't know if it started to snow yet, but that's only just right around the corner.
Not yet.
Island time is real.
Very real.
Lou says, thank you. I'll be flying to San Juan. That's Chris. Will there be
Chris, I think you are new to the YouTube channel. I may have been answering some comments you had on a video or something.
Cool community.
What's that?
He's new to Apex.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Welcome.
Will aranceles affect the buying and selling of properties in PR? The question is, will the Trump tariffs affect buying and selling properties in the island? I don't think it affects them, but it sure affects the materials you use to fix them.
I mean, tariffs are, the argument is, are tariffs a tax or are they not a tax? And in our business particularly, everything that we buy from the Home Depot has had at times some massive tariffs put on it recently because of Trump. Luckily, we've been able to see some of that stuff come down and settle and things like that. But it's caused us to rethink how we supply materials. Do we go out and buy today while we know what the price is? Because normally what we would do is we would just let the big box stores hold on to that stuff for us, and we'd buy it as we need it. But that might not be a luxury we have, especially if they keep fighting with each other and they're going to tariff 200% on anything coming from China, things like that, guys. This is real. That certainly affects the bottom line, and it directly impacts our business as people who are buying and renovating distressed properties, because damn near everything that we put into a property is getting hit with these tariffs, whether it's lumber from Canada or steel from Mexico or anything that comes from China, really.
And you think
Everything comes from China.
You think, Robbie, that it'll slow down the process as well on your flips?
Anytime things get more expensive for people and it's harder to just get by in life, you'll see people are going to rent more. They're going to look for ways to save money, and that probably means that they're not going to rush out and buy real estate. So, yeah, I think it all impacts us. Does it stop us from doing what we're doing? So far, it hasn't really. It hasn't really caused the island to see price reduction or even properties not selling. I think days on market get to be a little bit longer, and it could also be affected if Trump can get the interest rates to go down. Then we could see the opposite. Now, then it might empower other people to buy properties, and that would be very helpful to the business. So there's some good and some bad with him, but overall, I'm not at all a fan of these tariffs. The only thing I'm a less of a fan of, and this is probably getting too political, but I think it would be an absolute disaster if the Supreme Court overturns the tariffs. I think the world could collapse if that happens, because it's just so much money and so many deals. So you all, if you don't want to see the world collapse, I think be careful of rooting for the Supreme Court to overturn his ability to do these tariffs. And I am not a fan of the tariffs at all. So anyway, that's enough about politics.
All right, moving on.
Moving on. Get me out of trouble. Let's not talk about
Daniela
Trump.
says,
I can only
so you'll
leave.
be my new best friend as I enter this new venture in life. Is that what you're saying, Jennifer?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. MJ Medina says, how TC works with notary attorneys that are required in closing under PR law. How do you work with them?
Yeah, so same thing like any attorney state, right? Connecticut's an attorney state, for instance. It's really no different. Like I don't participate in the actual signing of documents. So that happens directly with the attorney or the title company. What I do is I coordinate the closing. I say, hey, where do you want to close? And I communicate all of that. But yeah, no different than in any other state.
Nice. Robert, how long have you been using Jennifer's service?
Jennifer, we met at an event that your husband put on a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago, we did a deal right after that event together. And hopefully we're going to do a whole lot more as we get more busy. So after I met Jennifer Ed, I was going pretty slow. And so we've only worked on a couple of deals together, but we're going to do a lot more together.
Absolutely.
And I had never used any kind of closing services other than just a lawyer or in Florida, we would use a title company. But now that I've met Jennifer, I've seen the light. You guys should try her out. You've done what? Almost $100 million worth of closings? Almost.
I mean, we were at like 84 million months ago. I keep saying 85 million, but I think we're well past that at this point.
George says, is there an actual list for contractors, financial advisors, or potential partners available within the community? Which community are you enjoying? If you're in Apex, it should be in the masterclass section. If you're in the flip-flop, there's nothing.
No, in the flip-flop flipper, you just make a post and you ask who you're looking for. There's definitely all of those people and things there. Financial advisors is an interesting one. We haven't really hooked into financial advisors. Not that they're not in the community. It's just not something that we've tapped into. But everybody else is in the community, and in Apex we have a vendor list there as well.
Marlene says, I believe what Jennifer is doing is great. Keep everything in order, and there is a extra pair of eyes on your transactions. Small invest in Jennifer's service can save you a lot of headache.
Amen to that. That's exactly why you hire her. That could be her motto. Hire me to save the headaches.
Yes. Chris says I should join today. Congratulations, Chris.
Nice to meet you, Chris. Welcome.
Those goodies coming up on title search are fun. Deal of mine went bust on a $10,000 surprise lien. The seller conveniently forgot to tell me last minute. So
last week, a deal went bust in on the southwest side of the island that Emmanuel was working on. He got seemingly a great deal with seller financing, and the seller started pressuring to close very quickly. And it turns out that there was a first mortgage that the seller was choosing to not identify and come forward and be honest about. So that blew up. And thankfully, Emmanuel was able to get the contract over and start to do a title search and found it. But be careful, guys, of anyone who's asking you to act super fast without doing your due diligence. There's a reason that they're doing that quite often. Now, they could be in foreclosure and they're losing the house tomorrow. That's legitimate. But you still need to do all of the due diligence. You just have to do it super fast.
And it's okay to ask those questions. Like, hey, I understand that you have a rush. You want to close sooner rather than later. Why is that? Maybe they're moving and they need to close quickly. Maybe they have a major event. Cool. That's good to know that. If it's a foreclosure, we absolutely have to know and when that auction date is. But sometimes if none of those are the reason, then we may want to just slow it down a little bit, even if the seller's pushy, and really dig deep into, what's going on with the property.
Yes, and I think we'll answer a couple of these, but what would be some great questions to ask your sellers when you run into those type of situations to protect yourself, especially to find those yellow flags, like you like to call them.
Yeah.
Lou says, TC services, do you need any kind of schooling to do what you do? Jennifer's actually given the schooling.
Right.
Is there a license for it, or is there anything formal?
There's some gray lines for certain states. It really focuses on mostly working with agents. As long as you're remaining strictly on the administrative tasks of it, you're not, writing up contracts, you're not negotiating, you're not showing houses, then no, you don't need an official license like a real estate agent. However, you do need training. And a lot of the training comes from, honestly, working on deals. Or like in my instance, like I'm also an investor. So I get a lot of my experience as well from doing deals because things just come up.
Yes.
On the job training. We say that every week. What you learn more from doing your first deal than all of the seminars and webinars. And, we teach a master class every week, but that first deal is not a semester of college. It's like getting through a 4-year degree. By the time you've done 10 deals, you have your doctorate. You got your master's along the way, and you've picked up your doctorate. So doing deals teaches you everything that you need to know. And you can start doing deals knowing nothing and with no money. What better business is there than that?
It's funny that you had a few minutes ago, you had said something where like you made something happen, you made an error, and you're like, I learned from it, right? That happens. And that's why, guys, you have to be part of the community, because people that have gone through those things will shorten your learning curve on that. Like literally, you won't have to go through a lot of those things because Robbie and Adan have gone through it. I have gone through it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
That's by being in a community, which, guys, by the way, when I was starting out, there was no such thing as a TC service. There was no such thing as these real estate communities online. Hell, I don't even know if the internet existed when I started. It was a long time ago. But you guys have the ability to join our community or so many different places where you can go and you can get yourself around people that are doing things similar to what you want to do. And by all means, join as many of them as you can. Network with as many people as you can that are doing the kind of things that you want to do. Asking your friends and family who have never done a real estate transaction before what they should expect or what you should expect doing your first deal, they don't have a clue because they've never done it before. And any advice they give you is just going to be ridiculously bad. So get yourself in communities. We've got a flip-flop flipper community. It's free to join. We talk about Apex. That's our premium community. And we just launched a mastermind at the end of the Freedom Flippers Live group, which is something that I've wanted to do for years. So there's all kinds of different communities at every level for every stage that you could possibly be at.
Jennifer, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, but I don't post on there nearly as much as I should.
You're not 4,000 videos deep?
No. And my dad is always telling me, make videos on YouTube. And I'm like, I know.
When? What time? All right. Someone says, Rafa says, I'm trying to sell a house in Puerto Rico, possibly. Is an agent flat fee of $5K a bit much, you think, for an agent?
Right. It really depends on how much you're selling the house for. 5K is, so we're selling a $3.5 million house. If someone would do it for $5,000, sign me up. I'll be glad to pay them the $5,000 flat fee. If I'm selling a $20,000 rundown shell, 5K is an extraordinary amount of money, and I wouldn't want to do it. So we need a little bit more info. That's one of the troubles with this format, is that we can't face-to-face ask you the questions. But 5K would indicate that it's a fair deal if you're probably selling a house that's 200K, 150 to 200K or more. 5K is probably more than you should spend if it's less than 150. So hopefully that helps. And typical, if you want to hire a realtor, you can hire a realtor here and pay the listing agent 2% and the selling agent 2%. So 4% is reasonable on the island of Puerto Rico. If you hire, Adon and I are hiring. Who are we hiring? The really expensive people. Sotheby's. We're hiring Sotheby's to sell the $3.5 million house, and I think we're paying 6%. So they're gonna spend some significant amount of money advertising our property, and they've got a whole plan and everything. Anyways, that gives you a range.
Diana says, "Love the hair."
They're talking about Robbie's hair.
Is my hair wild or? Yeah. Adon and I got haircuts for Freedom Flippers Live.
Yep. The guy was, he said, "I'll make you guys look exactly the same." He didn't paint my hair white for some reason.
This is a good question about in Puerto Rico for the tenants versus the landlords. Is Puerto Rico more landlord friendly or tenant friendly? I think it's a cross between, like where you're from, Jennifer, Connecticut is very, very tenant friendly. Where I'm from in Florida is probably pretty landlord friendly. And Puerto Rico lies somewhere in between. It's not as easy to evict someone on the island as it is in Florida, but it's almost certainly not as hard as it is in Connecticut or New York or, oh, God forbid, what they're going to do in New York City now that this new guy got elected.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Crazy.
Another thing, Rafe, Puerto Rico law will look to your documents and contracts as that's what they're going to go by. So there's not standardized forms, at least not typically standardized forms, either on leases or sales contracts. So what happens if there's a dispute is the judge is going to look right into the contract that you've signed. And pretty much as long as you've not done anything egregious, if you guys have agreed to it in the contract, they're going to try to get everyone to stick to the contract.
Joy says, "Robert, what are your thoughts on buying land and adding container homes as real estate investment? What could be some setbacks or some pros?"
I've done it. So I've got some shipping containers on some land that I have in Rincon. And once we got them onto the land and built out properly, we flipped that switch, put them on Airbnb and all of those sites, and they're doing fairly well. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I think we took a spot that originally had two fifth wheel trailers where we were getting lot rent of about $450 a month on each lot. So that's $900. And now with the 4 units of shipping containers that we have in that spot, I think we're bringing in $10,000 a month. So that's pretty good. It was an investment. It was pretty significant. We built out the shipping containers pretty nice, and then we built out outdoor kitchens and decking and things like that, so that they would be super. As far as shipping containers go, they're pretty nice, right? Like they're not just slapped together and thrown on the ground. We've stacked them. We've got decking and hot tubs and outdoor kitchens and stuff. So we spent as much building around the containers as we did on the containers themselves, maybe more.
Yeah.
I like the idea though. I like doing it, Joel.
The pro tip, Joel, is build it on site. Most places want to build the full shipping container somewhere else, and transporting those things, they don't transport really well. Robert could tell you about that too, but it's better to just get the container on site and start building it out there, so that way it's permanent, nothing gets broken on the transport. So there's your pro tip. We lost Jennifer.
That's a good pro tip though, Don. We built out our first set of containers with tile, and then when they traveled from San Juan to Rincon, we had lots of cracked tile. So our next set of shipping containers we built with the LVP. It's a lot more flexible. They travel a little better. But
Yeah.
I agree. So from now on, we'd rather just buy the raw container and put it in place and then build it on site. And I would also say, if you've got the guys, Joel, that can build your containers, you're going to save a ton of money from going to any of the people that are doing it on the island. They're renovating or they're upcycling shipping containers and then selling them for, I think, $80,000 to $120,000 a box. And I'll just say you can do it for a lot less than that.
Yeah, I'd rather buy a house for that.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you. We lost you for a second, but you're back.
Yeah. Really quick, if I can add something on Joelle's question. One of the things, I mean, buying it isn't so much of an issue if you're going to do cash. The problem is when you go to sell at some point. Some things that you may want to consider is that your buyer pool may be smaller because financing may become an issue. Because sometimes certain lenders won't approve a shipping container. They won't recognize it as like an actual structure. Those are things that you may want to consider. You may just be able to do it cash. And correct me if I'm wrong, Robbie, and Adan, if you guys have experienced otherwise.
We haven't
but I've heard
financed
stories.
anything, so I think you're right.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Adan?
I'm agreeing with her that I've heard, it's very difficult for those containers to be considered like homes, especially because you build them on stilts and stuff like that. You can consider that as a movable structure. So it's more considered like an RV or something like that compared to like a block home. So you might not get the price you want. When you're trying to sell, I would imagine you're marketing more to someone who wants to do like a short-term rental play on a cool little container home compared to this is going to be my forever house, a metal box. So
they look really cool though. They look really
great. But I don't think just
I mean, they're popping up more and more. So I was on a Shark Tank over the weekend with a business called Mr. Good Container, and they're trying to scale and build out 500 shipping containers upcycled, and they're pretty modest. They're in Texas, and they're putting them inside trailer parks. So they just stick them right on the ground. They furnish them up, and then they rent them for about $950 a month. And they're, you take a 40-foot container and you chop it in half. So you've got about 160 square feet. We're talking about a really tiny home. But they're having some pretty massive success with it and making high returns because their claim is that they're all in on each duplex for $80,000, so $40,000 aside, and then $950 in rent. That's not bad. So I like these shipping container things. They're pretty profitable, or can be.
Yeah. Danelle says Jennifer is the Dramamine for real estate. You get her before getting on the plane. There you go. A lot of love today. Jennifer Services is going to blow up. I agree.
I think it's already blown up. Now she's just building the business to scale. How many deals are you closing a month, Jennifer?
On average, it's like 70 or 80. November, December. Yeah, November, December tends to slow down because of the holiday season. Maybe we're doing like half of that. But still, I mean, compared to what's going on out there, I mean, we're pretty consistent.
And when did you start your business?
We're going on 4 years now.
So in 4 years, you've gone from 0 deals to almost $100 million worth of real estate closed, and 0 closings a month to 70. Yeah. Dude, you guys put it in the chat. That's freaking sick. That's a business model that way to go. Like, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Rafe says, I'm learning a ton just from helping a relative possibly sell their house and also being licensed in New York. I imagine, Rafe, you're flying down and coming down here, or Florida. I like to leverage and invest in either or. It would be my first deal. I guess he's asking, he had a question earlier, maybe. He's looking at a house for $85,000.
Oh, he's looking at a house for $85,000 on the island?
Yeah, it says the house is under 100K, around maybe 85 for the 5K flat fee.
So you got back to the 5K flat fee. I think that feels high. So I mean, if you're selling that in the States, 6% of 85,000 is whatever that is. That would be the high end of what I would pay to sell that, and that would be hiring a regular Remax agent or whatever. If I'm doing a flat rate listing on a flat rate listing in Florida, we're spending $500 or $600, maybe $750 to have someone put it on the MLS and then direct the calls directly to us. Now that puts a lot of work on you, Rafe, but 5K on an $85,000 house seems expensive.
Are wire frauds becoming more prevalent now than ever?
What's funny is that and Jen, you can probably talk about this, but wire fraud happens so often in the States that I just had no idea. I was talking to a closing agent friend, and they're like, at least, and this is one title company in Orlando, Florida. She says at least once a month, someone tries to do a fraudulent transaction through their title company. What have you seen, Jennifer?
Yeah. So funny thing. So number one of my partners actually was part of a transaction where a buyer got fraudulent wire instructions that looked like it came from the title company. He actually wired money. It was like almost 400K. I do have a video on that one. And luckily, Wells Fargo, I believe was the bank, noticed that something was off and they stopped it. The guy was luckily able to get his money back. But if it wasn't because of Wells Fargo being on point, he would have lost all his money.
Wow.
Another thing I've been noticing, like you'll get these emails that'll say, attached are the wire instructions. No property on the subject line. You can't really tell who this is coming from. Ignore those. If it doesn't come directly from the title company or your TC is like requesting it, do not wire funds and always call and confirm those wire instructions. Do not skip out on that.
There's just so much fraud, and the fraudsters are so freaking good at pretending to be pick something, Coinbase or Wells Fargo or your credit card or even your bank. You've got to be so careful. I got a text from my wife that said that I got a fraud protection alert from my bank today, and this is reminding me I need to call them. And she said, don't call the number that they sent, call the branch manager and talk to them and see if there's a fraud alert. So that's exactly what I'll do. Well, not tomorrow because tomorrow's a bank holiday. I was supposed to do it today, but I'll do it tomorrow. But I mean, like half of that shit or more can be fraudulent. So just be careful out there, guys. Don't and these fraudsters are willing to steal every dollar that you've got, and they'll do it so fast. It's ridiculous. I think there should be a special place in the prison for them when they get caught.
Guys, we're coming up on we're already at the hour. We're going to answer 2 more questions and we're going to get out of here. Next one is from, can you tell me in general about remodel contract construction permits on the island? What is required, interior changes versus exterior areas of concern or difficulty? I mean, if you're just doing stuff internally, you get an exempt permit. Those are pretty fast to come by. If you're going to start putting stairs outside of your building and changing facades and stuff like that, then the permit can become a little bit more difficult, and it could you have a longer timeline to get it.
And one thing that we would say is if you're near the ocean, or really if you're near any body of water, there is what's called a maritime zone where you're not supposed to build inside of that zone. And so you want to be super careful when you're doing deals that are near the ocean. When I first came to the island, I was in love with oceanfront. I'm less in love with it now because we had a project that's not even in the zone. It took us 2 years to get the permit. So be careful of that. That's a special area of concern that we've seen.
All right, and I think we'll end it with this one, which is a great question. How do I contact Jennifer for potential transaction services? And I'm going to put the link to her website here and bring it up. Jennifer, you have any finishing remarks here you want to tell, keep the people safe out there, let them know that if they don't use you, it could be a very big headache for them.
Yeah, so my website is good for a lot of information. If you need to get a hold of me, email or text is the best way. Please don't call me out of the blue. I may not answer. I get a ton of calls. So my email, I'll give it out. I can't type down here, Adon. But it's
It's
Jennifer.
in the website, no?
No, it's not on the web. Not my direct email, no.
Okay, fine.
So
It
it's
says
Jennifer.
All right. 1 second. Jenny. For at
FL, like the Florida initials, FL.
fltcservices.com.
That's right. Yep.
There
Or
you
my
go.
number, 860-999-3648. You'll get a quicker response that way. If you text me, tell me what your name is and where did you see me. Just let me know that it's from the Flip Flop Flipper live.
There you go, guys. And we're gonna take away this live because once we put this out there, she's gonna make her prices more expensive for us. So get it now. Just kidding. Thank you for joining us, Jennifer. Last
Thank you.
minute here. We're really happy to have you. We're excited to use your service moving forward. And then Robert destroyed his mic, so now we can't hear him. Oh my God.
Can you hear me now?
Can you teach Robert how to use technology, Jennifer, as part of your service?
Good luck. Good luck.
I've gotten a lot better with that, but when it comes to mics,
They're tough. I've been
So
trying for
I was
4 years.
saying, can you guys hear me again now?
Yes.
All right, good. It's been a pleasure having you, Jennifer. I was asking our audience, what do you guys think of Jennifer? I'm thinking that maybe we can have her back pretty regularly if she's up for it. But so give her some love in the chat. Let us know what you think. And should we have Jennifer back? I think
Yeah,
so.
let's find a complicated deal and give it to Jennifer so we can have
I
it
love
forward.
that idea. Let's do that.
Yes,
Good.
let's do it. Jennifer, thank you again, guys. Her website's in the chat. It's finishline.tcservices.com. That's her email. Any questions, ask her. And thank you for joining us.
Bye, guys.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
This is Emmanuel, and in just 3 weeks, he found the deal of a lifetime, negotiated an offer, got it accepted, found the EMD from a third party, me, and then found the buyer to sell it. Now, how did he do all of that? He's a member of the Flip Flop Flipper Apex community. And inside of Apex, he was able to find the buyer who's an operator. He was able to find someone who wanted to put up the money, and he's got the deal of a lifetime done and is going to make $40,000 on his very first deal. So if that sounds good to you, and you want to be like Emmanuel, comment Apex and I'll send you the link.